You're welcome back. May I know why you are not smiling? Aren't you this wonderful student here? This particular one. This is Echo Ielts lecture series. This is the third lecture, and today we are going to be having a special discussion on listening, and that is everything you need to know in your IELTS listening. My name is still Dr. Victor Atox, and I will be driving this big trailer of knowledge. Thank you very much. So, our focus for today will include the general tips, then we'll talk about how to handle the part one of the listening test, which I tagged as the part one strategy. Then we will proceed to the part two, then to the part three, and finally the part four strategy. At this point, I want to say that the skills that are required for each part of the listening test vary because of the subjects of either discussion or conversation that is ongoing. So I will advise that you follow the strategies that I will be teaching out. At some point, I will be making some adjustment, and it's my belief that you will adjust accordingly. Let us do some check. I believe you have your headset by now, or you have a very big speaker like this one we have here. Headset is key. If you can buy a quality headset, I don't want to advertise JBL, but I think they produce very good headsets, but they are quite expensive. Then I will also require that you either have your desktop computer. This is like the gold standard, but a laptop will do. Then you can, if you are sitting for the paper test, I will advise that you have some printouts, but they are not compulsory. You can just get a sheet of paper and write 1, 2, 3, 4 to 40, then so that you can have something to record as you listen to the conversation or lecture in the course of the listening test. So, like my wife would usually say, he said, well, I was going through the IELTS lecture series and all I could see are cartoons. So the first question from our beloved cartoon, love it, is how difficult is the listening test? And the answer will be, I think this one should be Victor. It depends. Native speakers can miss this test and fail woefully. Yes, they can miss it, while foreigners can mass it. And I believe that you can ace it. Why? Because you have the best tutor in IELTS. uh, what is the test going to be about? The tests. What is the test going to be about? I'm sorry about that. What is the test going to be about? I believe the part one is going to be a phone call. It's usually a phone conversation between Amina and the receptionist in a company, or somebody that wants to book a hotel. It's usually a phone call. So it's important that you know that the first part of this training will be focusing on conversations that are held on the phone. The second part and the third part is all about conversations. It's conversation, majorly conversation, either between a lecturer and a student or two students, depending on the kind of conversation that is being introduced in the test type. Finally, the part 4 is a lecture. A lecture is usually a lecture or a seminar presentation. So you're going to be given 40 questions, and those 40 questions you expected to answer everything in about 30 to 40 minutes. Then a few minutes will be given to you to go through your work. Now listen to me. It's very important that um, you don't worry about so much about time management in listening tests, because the time is already programmed into the test. But however, it is important that you maximize those break periods. There are break periods. A time they will ask you that go through the former questions, read through the next questions. Those break period, we're going to maximize it. Is that clear? I believe it is very clear. So it's very important that we talk about why people fail the IELTS test. Why do people fail the IELTS test? I think one of the reasons is because of too much of Hollywood. Sorry, that is not it. That is not. It's not too much of Hollywood. I think the first statement is quite scary, and that is part of the first statement you will hear is that all recordings will be played but once. I don't understand. Why will you say all the recordings will be played but once? But that is just the situation. So you've got only one opportunity to get the answer, and once you miss it, you've missed it. Except perhaps you will hear a part of that conversation that will remind you of what was discussed earlier on. But in many situations, you will discover that once you've missed it during the first period or the first encounter with that information, you've missed it. So it's very important that you go and get your earwax. You go and get out the earwax. Well, actually, it's not about earwax. It's not about the earwax. It's about the ear training. There are some people that have been trained to recognize when they will be mentioning the answer that will be used in filling in the gap. So it's very important that you train those ears. And one of those things that will help you to train your ears effectively is by early introduction to the headset. Please, please. I have warned over and over again that I do not appreciate my student making use of the earpiece. The earpiece and the headset experience are totally two different experiences, and the earpiece will not give you the training that is required for the IELTS listening. Yes. You could have asked me, why did I talk about the big speaker earlier on? Yes, you can make use of the big speaker when you've got a prior information that the center that you will be writing will be making use of a big speaker. So you want to have what we call a simulated training. You want to simulate, at least rehearse in a similar environment as that which the examination will be taking place. So what is the formula for listening? Now, I've been able to reduce this formula for listening to one particular word. It's tied up, but the new one that I have adjusted it to is tip. But why didn't I make this whole thing? Why didn't I change it to tip? The reason is because you will still need the type of skills, the R and the U skills in it. You will still need it, but in most situations, since we are making, or since the training is targeted at computer-based tests, there's a reason, because they are leaving the paper-based test now. Tyrup would have been very, very effective if you are going to take the paper-based test, but because the the computer-based tests the computer-based test is the new trend, is it is very important that you train yourself using the tip formula. So what is the tip for listening? T stands for topic, I stands for instruction, and P stands for what? Predict. Now, the other R and U that is in between, which you should have used if you were using a paper-based test, stands for read fast. That is, and then U means to underline. You won't have the luxury, that time luxury, to go into the hall and start underlining in the hall. So you are going to be making use of the tip. If you are opportune to have a paper-based test, I will advise that you use the full TIROP formula. But they are just the same thing. I will tell you why they are the same thing. Because there is no way you are not going to read the whole thing. So the formula for maxing my wife usually will use the word max. That is to maximize. To maximize your score in listening is what? Is tip. Tip. Just get the tip. What is the tip? And that is exactly what we'll be discussing. Before now, when we were teaching Tyrob, I said to max your listening, just tie read up. But now you just need a tip, the topic, the instruction, and then you predict as you read the whole passage. So let's move it on. Let's move on. I say move it on. So let's talk about the tip. The tip, basically, this is the topic. You can see Citibank customer service log. That is the topic. What they are going to be discussing, the overall topic is this. Then the instruction is this. Look at the instruction. Write no more than 2 words and or a number for each of the answers. No more than 2 words. What do you mean by that? If they say no more than 2 words, it means that the maximum number of words you're going to be writing will be 2. So, for example, London streets. London streets. It is London street. You can have 11 London streets. Do you get me? 11 London streets. That is, this is a number, and these are 2. They say no more than, that it should not be more than 2 words. It can be 11 London. It can be 11 streets. It can be 11 London streets, but it cannot be 11 London Street, UK. This is now a third word, and they say no more than 2 words. If they say no more than 3 words, it means that you can write 3 words maximum, and or a number, which means it's just one number you can attach. Exactly. 11 is one number. Oh, okay. Okay. So you try and know the instruction. Be very sure, because most times some people will go for their test and they will come back failing because, assuming they said London street and you end up writing just streets, IELTS listening is marked using the computer, and as such the computer will just go there and cancel it because it cannot recognize street what it can recognize is London streets. You can see now, type of query, term deposits. You can see that if you write deposit, you're failed. If you write term, you're failed. It must be term deposit. Now, at this stage, having known your T, which is a topic, and this is a topic, and you've already known your instruction, which is no more than 2 words and a number, the next thing is to predict. But there's no way you can predict without reading the passage. In fact, before you could even get the instruction and the other one, that is why I was telling you that tie up is no longer too important, because R there stands for read, U stands for underline. So what you just need to do is this. You say David dash dash, you just predict. You know that this is going to be David somebody. So you can say in your mind, though, you can just say David Moses. What you know is that they are going to mention a particular name of a person. So that will be what you'll be expecting. So you predict an answer ahead of time. And if it's a phone number, you know that it's going to be something like 023 and the rest of them. As we go on, you will learn more tips. But that is the tip formula. But throughout this course, you will be hearing, you'll be seeing tyro. Don't worry about the R and the U. R, the underline means that you come here and you underline one word that will tell you. So here, customer name. If you underline name, which means you are going to mention a name. Phone number, you underline phone, which means you are going to call a phone number. Date of birth, D, you underline a D. But now, because you're most likely going to use a computer, there's no need to worry about the underline. So forget about the read and the underline. In your mind, just read as you are reading in your mind, underline it in your mind, note that place, then you can proceed to what? You can proceed to do what needs to be done. So the strategies, these 5 points above are not 5 steps, but one very long step. These 5 points above are not 5 steps. They are not 5 steps, but just one very long step. You must do it before the conversation begins. Yes, once the conversation begins, I beg you in the name of the Lord, go back to the beginning. If you miss a question, jump to the next question and focus. I beg you in the name of the Lord. Write the answers on your question sheet first. Like I told you, there's no need to write question on your visual sheet. You are writing it directly into the computer in this situation. And after the whole examination, you'll be given few minutes, about 10 minutes to transfer your answers into the answer booklet. At the end of computer-based test, you're going to be given just 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes. Yes. So like I said, computer-based test is direct. You just type the answers or you click on the answers as the passage, as the discussion or the lecture is going on. Please, if you can, make sure you transfer your answers in capital letters so you don't have to bother whether the whole thing started with a capital letter or a small letter. It's very, very important because the computer will dictate. But if you write everything in capital letters, in cap locks, you discover that you will have no problem with whether the answer started with a capital letter or not. So if you can put your phone or your system on cap locks, it will be very, very good. But if you cannot, then you will need to pay special attention to when they mention proper nouns that should begin with what? That should begin with a capital letter, cap locks. So, like I said, the tip now are not 3 steps, just 1 step, because we are making use of tip now, isn't it? Tie up is not 5 steps, it's just 1 step. So you do all of them together. Now, the next thing is that so many persons have asked me, Dr. Tokes, how can I train my ears so that I can be able to palpate the sound like a native? Okay, it's okay. Some people have advised that we should watch movies. Some people have also said that if you listen to music, but the truth is that the listening test is not just in British English. Sometimes you can even hear Indian Indian accent. You can hear American accent. So how many movies are you going to watch before the examination? Or is it something you want to prepare for the rest of your life? Oh, don't worry. So what I would say is this: you should go to our there's something we call the Cambridge resource, which will be given to you on registering with us. It has a link that will direct you. It will direct you to where you can download audios. Now, just play those audio notes, those audio soundtrack. Just make a Cambridge soundtrack. So in the first week, you can decide that while you're listening to it, you're reading the subtitles. The subtitle is at the back of the booklet. The subtitles at the back of the booklet if you download the booklet, which is going to be the second option. I will show you if you ask me. Then then the second week you can start by remove not reading the subtitles while listening to it. Then you can also proceed to increase the speed of the listening test as you are going through the whole process. Some have advised that if you listen to TED Talks on YouTube or using their app, you watch British movies, it can help. But I beg you, in the name of the Lord, Nollywood is not part of it. Bollywood is not part of it. And all the other wood, they are not part of it, because they will take you to where? They will take you to the wood. So it is important that you get all those Cambridge soundtracks, the Cambridge listening test audios. You can begin to play those audios while you're cooking, while you're driving, while you're just moving around the compound, so that you can be able to differentiate between X and S. You'll be able to differentiate between 15 and 50 just by listening to the conversation as it's ongoing. In a day, you can listen to about 2, 3, 4, or as the case, or as much as God gives you strength. Okay, so we will be going to the approach for the part 1 in our next session. For now, I want you to go and break for some minutes, stretch out your legs, or go and see that patient of yours while I cook the next meal. Thank you. You're welcome back to the class, and right away we're going to be discussing about the best approach to acing your part 1 listening test. The part 1, like I said earlier on, is usually a phone conversation where one individual is asking or making an inquiry either about a booking or a hotel reservation. There are so many other conversations, but it's basically around this particular theme. So we should proceed. How can we help this student? The question from the curtain this morning is, what is part 1 all about? What is it all about? The part 1 is a phone call, usually a phone call, And there are about 10 questions to be answered, and those 10 questions are divided into two. The first part is about 5 questions or 6 questions or 7 questions. Then we now have the order from either number 6 to number 10. It's usually from 1 to 6, then 7 to 10, usually, basically. So, and before the test begin, you'll be given some few seconds, about 45 seconds usually, 30 to 45 seconds to go through the questions. Then when you're done, you're given 30 seconds to go through the next questions also. And after you are done, you're given about 30 seconds to 1 minute in order to look at what you have answered. Please don't make the mistake of going through the answers you have registered on your answer sheet. There's no need. Just move ahead so that that particular 1 minute can be used in addition to the time you will be given for the next passage, because the next passage is going to be harder. So I will advise that you go and wait for us in the part 2, reading through the questions, so that by the time you're starting in that place, we would have gone through, you could have gone through about 3 to 4 of the questions and their options. So, is the part 1, is it hard? Is it hard? It's supposed to be the simplest because of the many breaks in between, and it's simply a conversation. It's simply what? A conversation. So it shouldn't be hard for someone as intelligent like yourself. So it's just a conversation, and there are no breaks, and it's usually around discussions of daily living. So it's supposed to be the simplest. So you're going to listen to the conversation that begins with the introduction from Cambridge, that will last for about a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. Then they will now give you 30 seconds specially to read through the questions, and for you to answer usually the first 6 questions. Then you will be given another 30 seconds to read the last 4 questions. So you can see that that is a total of about the first 1 minute plus 30 seconds plus another 30 seconds. That is 60 seconds, 30 seconds plus 30 seconds. That will give you 120 seconds. So that 120 seconds should be enough to read through the 10 questions. But of course, you remember they are not together. Please, I beg you, in the name of whatsoever or whosoever you hold secret, do not listen to those Cambridge introductory talks. It's not necessary. You have to learn how to block your ears from listening to those your talks. You're welcome to Cambridge. Don't worry, just go ahead and go through your questions, because you must have heard it several times. It's not going to change. It doesn't change. So spend that time doing your tip. Remember, we have moved from tie up to tip. Do your tip. Read the topic. Try and understand what's this topic around. The instruction, how many number of words am I going to use? Then you try predict the answers for each part of those question subtype. Now, you may be given a table in your first part, very unusual. You may be given a table. So once you are given a table like this, the first thing you should do is, of course, you read the topic of the table, then the instruction, then you try, and there will be option here, then another option space here to fill in the right 9, 10, So you try to predict the answers by reading. So first of all, read the column, that is this side first. What is it about? Something like lovers, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then here they say time of arrival, time of departure, time of waiting, or extra notes. So you read it this way: the title of the column, then the title of the rows, like this. And one thing you must remember is to remember the units, because mostly sometimes the question will be about they ask you whether it is euro, or that it is pound, or whether it is going to be US dollars. If you are not given the currency in front, remember to put the currency. But if there is a currency in front already, if you add another currency to it, you have failed the question. So don't add the currency if it's already placed there. And the presence of a currency will tell you that they're about to mention a money. So you get set also. Finally, it's very important in our strategy to remember that the difference between 15 and 50, 15 50, okay, 17 70, so 16 60. You can see that 15 16 17 they are long, while 50 60 70 are just what? They are just very short. Secondly, listen for the plural. If the answer to the question is pencils, if the answer to the question is pencils and you write pencil, I'm sorry, you have failed the question. It's as simple as that. But the best way to check is to try and see which of them makes the best sense. And if there is already a or an in front of that gap, you know that it's going to be a what? Yes, it's going to be a singular subject. But if it is something that is not defined this way, you may just have to listen for that particular X at the end of the day. Good. Then when you're listening, you can hear not 5 knots. Not 5 knots is like this. That is 050. So sometimes you don't expect them to say, sometimes they will say double knots. That is double knots. Please, so that you get set. Because the first time I listened to Ielts, I heard not seven knots. I said N7. What is not? By the time I was done, I've already filled that particular question. So not is the same thing as 0. Then when you're listening to phone numbers, usually phone numbers are called out in threes. And when you are listening to them, listen to them in threes. For example, this number is not 234816934A13 downtown. That is not how they do it. That's not how. It's usually pronounced as 234. So when you are writing it, write it the same way. 234 816 934. If you are very fast in echoing, you can echo it and write it alongside, but sometimes that can be disturbing. If you can do it quietly, it will be better. And once they want to mention an address, they also go in that same manner. You will hear something like A13 downtown, A13 DS4. That's how it is being pronounced. A13, they'll pause DS4, but the pausing is usually in milliseconds, so you may not, so you just need to write as fast as possible. So how can I mask my listening again? I've already given you the tip. How many times did I tell you? I say use my tip. Forget about tie up. Tie up are for people that are using paper-based. Those that are paper-based. PB. The PB guys. So to master listening, just follow my tip. So Let's look at an example, but I will not be playing the audio right away, but it's going to sound something like this. We're going to be doing exercises on a regular basis, and I'll give you the link to these exercises, which will be available on the internet. It can be on our social media handle, and it can also be on YouTube. Try as much as possible to avail yourself of this opportunity. So, after the introduction, the first thing you want to do in this kind of situation, the tip, since you are making use of the tip formula, what you just do is you are making use of the tip formula. So first of all, you look for your topic. What is your topic? Look at your topic here. Citibank customer service. So this is your topic. Then I is your instruction. They say no more than 2 words or a number. This is my instruction. I'm not going to write more than 2 words or a number. So the next thing is to predict. And for me to predict, I have to read type of query. There was the type of query, term deposit. Okay. Customer name, David somebody. So this group should be somebody. David Hundein. You can just write David Hundein. Don't write it in your mind, but you know that they are going to mention someone's name here. You now say phone number, date of birth. Since you have already written, there's no need for you to bother your mind. Then you say customer term deposit details. Amount is going to be 80. They say 18,000. Term. Which kind of term? You have already heard. Okay, term. Is it going to be long term, short term? So you now in your mind you now say, oh, is that going to be something like that? It may not even be correct. It may be extended term at the end of the day. But since you already know it's a type of term they are talking about, it readies your mind. Interest rate is 2.54. Then current term deposit interest rate. Current term deposit year is 3. First year, that is this first year. This first year, 3.65%. Second year is going to be another something. So it will be around 4.2%, 1 point something percent. So if you are hearing 50% here, man, it's unusual. So your mind should be telling you that it's going to be something point something at the end of the day, but it can just be just 2%, just like that. So having that prediction in your mind, it readies you for what is about to be delivered in the listening exercise. So if you have something like this, if in many of these situations, something like this, you will discover that there's already a topic here, and they have already given you the instruction even before the topic. Instruction usually come before the topic in some situation. So the next thing now is, like I told you, read the column. Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. You know that these are days of the week, days, okay? Then here you now look at the time. Okay, these are the time. Okay, you now look down. There's no question there. Event. Okay, event. They are talking about event. Oh, okay, they are going to ask me about one event here in number 18. Okay, another event here. Okay. Then venue. Where are they going to meet in? They say they have already given me a venue, a cinema, gallery. Okay, maybe this one they are going to meet in a mosque. Okay, I know that they are going to mention a place, or they are going to meet in a garden. So ticket price, you can see I'm doing it. You see £8 there. So they are going to mention an amount here, but this place they are going to say it is going to be free. So there's an amount that is going to be here. And once they are going to ask these questions, once they start the discussion is going to be moving like this. Because 17 is here, then they will now go again, go to Wednesday, then the question will go like this. You now meet 18, then you now meet 19, then the question will move like this again, the discussion will go like this, then 20, and you'll be able to get your final exam question. So that is basically how part 1 looks like, but you can see that it's 20, so this is actually part of a question that was set for part 2. That's why I said it's not about learning whether it is part 1 or part 2, but learning the style of answering the question. So again, how can I train my ears like a native listener, that is a British or an Australian citizen? How can I do that? How can I train myself so that my ears, I can I can hear the way the white people listen. I can palpate this sound. I will tell you that go to the first lecture and download Cambridge audios to make your your Cambridge soundtrack. In the first week, you can listen with subtitles. The following week, you can decide to remove the subtitles. Then you can also increase the speed so that you can help better yourself. Please and please, anything Bollywood, Nollywood, and otherwood may likely take you into the wood. TED Talk is good. British movies are good, but you don't even have the time. Just get this Cambridge soundtrack and you're good to go. So when next we'll start this session, after your break, we'll begin with conversations. We'll begin with conversations that, I believe strongly. So we're going to start with a conversation in the next session.